Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Siouxland Sports Insider High School Football Podcast. It is Dome or Go Home Week on the podcast as we have, I think it's 7 teams ready to go to punch their ticket to the Dome, Marty. One in the state of South Dakota, and then the rest in the state of Iowa. We'll go through the classes, going for the smallest class up to the biggest class. And obviously, this isn't at all possible without our sponsors. Jersey Mike Subs of Sioux City. And obviously, when you head over to Cedar Falls as well. Game Day Men's Health in the Dunes, and then the Dons in South Sioux City and in Sioux City. Well, Marty, last week was kind of there was some cinematic games played throughout the Siouxland area. This week, there's even higher stakes, and we have some electric matchups. You talked about
Yeah.
the bowl atmosphere that you feel in college. This is almost like bowl week
Yeah.
for the Siouxland area. There's just so many good games all the way through. We'll start off right away in the state of South Dakota. PJ, they took a lump in that first quarter against Sioux Valley, down 14-6. We didn't know exactly what was going to happen. The health of the team. We had some backup guys playing. 2 broken plays end up giving Sioux Valley the lead. And then they just go off and rattle 40 plus unanswered, and win that game comfortably. I believe the final score of that one was 49 or 48-14.
Yeah.
Now they're taking on a 9-1 team in dual, and this dual team comes in. They're a good squad. And the only thing is when you look at the matchups of teams that Elk Point has played and Dual has played, the similar teams, Dual has skated by some of those teams where Elk Point Jefferson has put those teams away.
Yeah.
Now, I think, when you get to this point in the season, it is a lot of a war of attrition. You got to get
Mhm.
guys that make sure that they're healthy. Obviously, you had guys that were playing in midseason form early in the season. Now they're a little bit banged up. Are they going to play the same? I don't know. I do think that this team, I talked to Coach Terry, is ahead of where they thought they were going to be this year, and which is good because then Coach Terry thinks this team is just as capable next year of doing the things that they're doing this year. And Marty, we're looking at they're 4 quarters away, 4 quarters and a win away from going to the Dome up in Yankton, Vermilion, excuse me, in just a week or so from now. They'll play this game on Friday, so no more Thursday games in the state of South Dakota. But if you look at this contest, what sticks out to you? I'll take it off here because we always have talked about the whole season their offensive line.
Mhm.
For EPJ to win this game, besides the offensive line, what's one main category that you want to focus on to make sure and instill that they will get a W?
I've been impressed with their defense as well, Mitch, and they've been pretty good at getting takeaways and then flipping the field over to the offense, and they do their thing. And as you mentioned, that offensive line, I mean, I compare those guys to Novocaine, man. It may not work in the first quarter, but eventually it's going to kick in, and then the holes open up, and it just opens up all the pages in the playbook. So I think takeaways are going to be a huge thing Friday night for them, and I expect them to come out on top.
All right, well, we'll get right into our picks here. We'll go through every game and then give our picks for that game. I'll start first, Marty.
Yep.
I got EPJ winning this one 35-14. I think it's like a slower start for both teams. Maybe after the first quarter, 7-7. Teams settle in after halftime. Not a lot of scoring after that. But I like 35-14 EPJ victorious in this one until a lot of the points that you said. Offensive line is going to be huge, winning the turnover battle as it is in every game. But EPJ seems to be doing it at an elite level. I think it carries on. And I think Coach Terry's team's going to play one more game, and we'll see if they have one more win under the belt after.
Yeah. I like EPJ to take care of business here. I'm going to go 42 to 14 at home, and I think they really sink their claws into them in the second half and just wear them down. But it'd be a great game. Anybody, if you can get out there and see it, please do. Two quality teams, and Elk Point Jefferson, they've just done a lot of winning lately, and you and I have followed them really closely. You've developed a really great relationship with that coaching staff, and I'm impressed with what they've done. And, just his consistency with his coaching staff. Those guys are all back again. They've done this before, so they know the path to victory, and I trust what they're going to do on Friday night. So, yeah, I like the Huskies big time.
And then I think a big thing is so name that's pretty familiar, obviously, with me, but a guy that was on their championship team a couple years ago is actually back in coaching up some of the offensive linemen, defensive linemen. Ty Trometer
Yeah.
has done a really good job. And as a familiar face that these kids have seen, through the through the
Yeah.
locker rooms and, through the hallways when, they might have been even like seventh grade or so. But
Yeah.
it's a familiar face that like, comes back and gives back to the community. And I think that's such a cool thing with a lot of these small schools in the
Yeah.
area is guys go on to college, trade school, whatever it might be, graduate, get done, still move back and give back to the community that gave to them for their
Yeah.
12 years, our well, I guess not 12 years, yeah, but the 12 years that they were in school
Uh,
to give back to the community and stuff. So I think he's done a big help too with also just the addition to the coaching staff that EPJ has had. So, but we'll move into to Iowa in Class A. Marty, we got a game that's going to start off our slate here in Iowa, where there is going to be a Siouxland team going to the Dome. It's just
yeah.
going to be, is it the Wildcats or the Royals?
Mhm.
Woodbury Central versus MMCRU. These teams scrimmage off in the beginning of the season. Obviously the game doesn't count, but
Mhm.
these are teams that haven't played during the regular season, but are familiar with each other with that scrimmage. You have two really good quarterbacks in Versure and Harpanaugh, Abe McGill and Brayson Mulder. Schmillen on one side, Jaden Lloyd on the other. Like these teams wear like the same type of colors. They have the same type of schemes. They're
Yeah.
both solid defensively. And like you could literally switch these guys in their jerseys, and I'd be like, yeah, that's Woodbury Central, and
Mhm.
like, no, it's actually MMCRU in disguise. So this
Huh.
game, both teams 10-0. Both teams have played perfect seasons up until now. Both teams are solid offensively. I'd probably give the nod a little bit more to MMCRU on the offensive side, and then the nod to Woodbury Central on the defensive side. But something's going to break here, and one team's going to go home disappointed, and the other team's going to punch their ticket to the Dome. This is a game that's going to last until the fourth quarter. What team makes a mistake, or what team is able to get pressure and force a mistake on one of those last final drives, I think is the key to do it for me. But Marty, I kind of want to get your takes on this. I mean, watching both teams throughout the season, you thought that maybe Woodbury Central might take a lump here. They've won some close games. They've won some
Mhm.
games a little bit dirtier.
Yep.
And I'm not saying like dirty in play, but like kind of like muddy games, winning 21-14.
Yeah.
They've done that three times this year, where MMCRU's kind of taken advantage and just really ran away with teams, minus the West Sioux game where they won 14-7. Do you give a nod to Woodbury Central because they've played in closer games and they found a way to win in the fourth quarter, rather than MMCRU and when it's basically almost done, besides one game done at halftime? Like I feel like you have to give the nod a little bit to Woodbury Central just because it's kind of a been there, done that mentality for them.
Yeah. Agree, Mitch. And Coach Bremer at Woodbury Central, I'm always happy to whistle his way because he does a hell of a job with his kids in the community, and he's just got a great connection with the fan base there too as well. And this time of year, I always lean on staffs that have been there and done that. And he's definitely one that there's a second season that starts, and as soon as the pumpkins get cut and everything, it's his time. So I really like his approach to the game. I like how he works with the kids, not just him, but his staff as well. And I look for this is going to be a very tight game, as you just said. Woodbury Central's been in some dogfights lately, but I like Woodbury Central 20 and Marcus Meriden Cleghorn, MMCRU 14 for me. But
All right.
great season for both, and we'll see. The better team will come out victorious Friday.
Well, and I've talked to some of the kids, obviously Glassmaker on MMCRU's side
Hmm.
wants to get back and play some more football before he's done.
Sure.
And the only way for them to do that is if they make it to the Dome, and we'll see how it goes. I do have the home team being victorious in this one, and I don't want to take any shade from
Hmm.
Woodbury Central fans because I've been on their corner the whole time. I just think that in this case, the home team gets 3 points, but in 7 points in this one, I got MMCRU going to the Dome, winning
Okay.
28-21. And
Hmm.
I think it just comes down to a late turnover. I think that, when Woodbury Central is cooking and they're good with the ball, they're hard to beat, but they're always, I feel like, prone to make a mistake. And if they do so on the road in that atmosphere at MMCRU, it's going to be an uphill climb. And I think they just make one few plays and MMCRU is able to take advantage. And I think they walk away with that one. But I would not be surprised if Woodbury Central does the what they've been accustomed to, win a close
Yeah,
game and punch their ticket to the Dome either. So
yeah.
just kind of cool
This
that
game will
either
get
way, no matter what the outcome is, we're getting a team that's going to be represented in Class 1A or in Class A, excuse me. So,
yeah, and these teams will take each other into the deep water into the fourth quarter too. Nobody's going to run away with
oh,
this. So
absolutely,
yeah, it's
absolutely.
going to
This
be
game
a
will be
fantastic.
this game will
Be a,
be where absolutely one where I'm going to be glued to my phone if anyone has live updates or anything. I think
yeah,
I got a buddy or two that'll be at the game just giving me updates too. So it should be a great one. And then we'll move over to Class A where there is still another team that can make the dome out of the Siouxland schools, and that's West Sioux. West Sioux's only loss is to
yeah,
MMCRU, the game I went to and covered. Great
mhm,
game. Defensively, both teams played extremely well. But I think offensively this year, Blake Wiggins in his senior season and Braylon Lopez in his junior season, the running back, kind of do it all running back wide receiver for the Falcons of West Sioux have really propelled this team. And ACGC, they go on the road to play a really good 10-0 ACGC team, but this is a team that runs the ball heavy, like runs the ball all the time. Like their quarterback on the season is 11 of 15 for 222.
wow,
I talked to you before. Blake
yeah,
Wiggins could be 11 of 15 for 222 at the half
right,
in
yeah,
some of the games that they play. So this is a team where ACGC is going to try to limit West Sioux's possessions. I think West Sioux is good enough defensively, and I think West Sioux pulls the upset here. I like West Sioux 35-21 in a two-touchdown game. I think if they start with the ball first, they drive down the field, score, and dictate a tempo that ACGC isn't used to, I think West Sioux can go on and win this one, and then we'll have two teams in Class A at the Dome. Depending on how they get seated, they could meet in the championship game, they could meet first round. More than likely, with how the east and middle side of the state dictate everything, they will meet first round, which is unfortunate. But there's a really good shot that we have two teams represented in Class A, and I do think with West Sioux's firepower, they're able to get the job done on the road and get an upset here and play at least one more game this season.
yeah. I like Coach Sweesow, and they've had a good year, and I like them to come out victorious here, 28-14.
There we go. So we got West Sioux going. We just haven't really came together on who we think or know is going to win the Woodbury Central MMCRU game. So a little bit different there, but we do have West Sioux
Yeah,
winning in Class A. Class 1A now. I hope we don't have any disparity in our picks here. It's West Line for me. And I think it was clear from the beginning of the season that you and I both were really strong on this West Lion team to
mhm,
repeat. And the only way to repeat is to win and go to the Dome. I think that the team that they're playing, Underwood, is a very good team. They do have two losses. I like what I've seen out of their quarterback, Garrett Lewitt. Just thrown for over 2,000 yards, ran for 655, and he's accumulated 36 touchdowns by himself. But the balance and just the defensive juggernaut that West Lion
yeah,
is so hard to get over. And I think that Garrett in that offense is going to do a good enough job to at least score probably 14 points. But I
mhm,
think that's probably all they muster. I have West Lion winning this one comfortably, 35-14. They get to their 11th win. They'll probably be seated as number one. Look for a Grundy Center West Lion
yeah,
championship game, which would be just awesome.
yeah, it would.
Should be a really good one. I just like Westline. I think they're too good with what they have to not go back and try to repeat at least.
Yeah, and, they sit here at 10-0, and, quite honestly, they've had pretty good luck with health this year as far as their team is concerned. In some of these games, they've been able to build some depth because, they're waxing people left and right.
Right.
I appreciate what Underwood has done this year, but I like West Lion, 42-12. I just think they're the cream of the crop in 1A, and I just always impressed with them. I mean, even when they ended the season last year, we were like, they could repeat. So they're just that good. But looking forward to the result of the game, and I know Underwood they'll give them a run for their money.
It should be a good one, but again, I just like West Lyon to prevail. I haven't seen a team they've matched up against all year to where I'm worried about them defensively.
Yeah.
And they've just gone in week out and been like, "Hey, our offense is good, but our defense is our staple point."
Mhm.
And I think their motto is, what is it? No one cares, work harder, or something like
Yeah,
that.
I think
And
yeah.
that's exactly what
Yeah.
you get out of that team, man. Like, no one
Mhm.
cares what your record is. No one cares how many stars this guy is across from you or in the locker room. Just work harder, and
Yep.
they've done that. And like I keep bringing up the story. We were in the tavern or the bar up in the West Line
Yeah.
area, and we talked to some of the
Yeah.
coaches, and like, well, we're not quite there yet, but I think we'll be good. And that was the year that Central Line went to the Dome and lost on that
Yeah.
last second, I think the 2 point conversion.
Yes.
And then ever since then, West Line's just been by far on this side of the state, probably the most dominant team. So
Mhm.
it's just crazy to think that we talked to a coach and he's like, "Well, we're not quite there yet." It's like, "Well, I don't know if you know this, but in 6 short months, you're going to definitely be there, and not only be there, but you're going to be hosting a trophy. And then
Yeah.
now you're 2 weeks, 3 weeks actually removed from hosting or hoisting back to back. So,
Yeah.
just a
Yeah.
great job that they've done there. I mean, the
Mhm.
community surrounding them is all in on these teams, and I think that's kind of what you get from this side of the state, just because there's not a ton of lineage, and if there is, it's really tight cultured, and these teams they understand what to do with success, and I think that's the biggest thing
Yeah.
with a lot of these schools that we cover is it's even if it is new to them, like there have been people before them that have had the success that have
Right.
gone to the Dome,
Yeah.
to where they understand how to handle themselves and they don't let the moment get too big. And I think that's a lot of reason why we keep having people from this side. And I'm not saying that we should have state champions every year, because I do understand that there are some really good formative foes on the east
Yeah.
side and central sides of the state as well.
Mhm.
But to where I almost every single year when I look at these rosters, I go, we're gonna have representation definitely in the smaller classes, just because I think that level of football is so good around here. And it's starting to grow into the bigger classes, 3A, 4As, and 5As, to where we have teams that have built success that are now sustaining the success, and it's no longer of, oh my god, we made it to the Dome. It's, we're making it to the Dome. Can we win 2 games at the Dome? And I think I love that as a a
Yeah.
media personnel, and watching these kids growing from their sophomore, juniors into their senior season. It's nothing but joy to, and obviously you and I talked about it in the preseason too, is
Uh-huh.
like we looked at these teams on paper and we're like, damn, dude, we can have a busy couple weeks
Yeah.
down in Cedar Falls and in Vermilion.
Yeah.
And I think that's true. I think we are going to
Uh-huh.
have a busy next couple weeks covering teams at the Dome. But we'll get right on. I could talk all day about how pleased I've been with a lot of these schools, and we'll get right into 2A. And I think 2A and 5A to me have the most interesting quarterback matchups
Yeah.
on our dockets. And I'm not saying that other quarterbacks are not good. I just think what Jackson Paulsrud has done the last 2 weeks is, like, he's thrown his hat in the ring. Like, he was
Yeah.
probably off the ballot, but he's thrown his hat in the ring for 2A Iowa Mr. Football. Like, he has to. Like, the last 2 games have been insane. And now you're going up against the team that you played earlier in the year, lost 44-28, and they
Uh-huh.
have who probably will win 2A Player of the Year in Brock Batting. Their quarterback for
Yeah.
Kemper. Kemper has looked good on defense. They've looked unstoppable on offense. And are they going to be able to slow down Jackson Paulsrud in this game? I think they are. I think the game is closer than it was before. Kemper just at home is damn near unbeatable. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously they're 10-0. They're unbeatable no matter who they play. And I thought that OABCIG gave them a little bit of a different look
Uh-huh.
than what they saw, and that
Uh-huh.
score was a lot closer. I just think that they're battle tested and good enough. This is another team where I think 2A is going to have to go, like 1A has to go through West Lyon. I think 2A has to go through Kemper Catholic.
Yeah.
No matter where you are, I think Kemper gets the win here. A closer one, I think 38-21, something like that.
Mhm.
Maybe a
Uh-huh.
late touchdown by Paulsrud makes it a little bit closer. But I think that Kemper is able to make it to the Dome, and they get there. I think the only thing that's going to hurt them would possibly be seeding, but I think they're going to be the clear number one. And like I said, I think if you want to win a state title in 2A this year, you're going to have to go through Kemper to do so.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mitch. And I love Paul's Root. He's a great player. I mean, going into
Unbelievable.
this game that Kemper's gonna send all their assets towards him to keep him inside the pocket or so he doesn't get loose on the run. But, yeah, Kemper, I think, is a team that's destined to get to the Unidome, and I think they kinda knew they had the roster and the personnel a couple years ago to pull this off, and, I like them 35, to 20 over Cherokee.
So it definitely closer than last time. I think that the firepower is still there for both teams, but I
Mhm.
think both defenses are able to settle in the second time,
Yeah.
and make it a little bit lower scoring of a game. Going into teams that have seen their opponent before, this is a team that they're in the same exact district. They played each other already this year,
Ah.
and Heelan got the better of Sioux Center, 28-15. And Heelan with that loss against Algona to end the year, I was kind of unsure on what they were gonna
Mhm.
do going into the playoffs, but they played an Atlantic team, played a really good game. I like to talk a little bit too about we've covered obviously a lot of these teams for a while now. 2 years ago, quite possibly the game of the year in the semifinals, the chance to go to the Dome. Heelan, Sioux Center played a triple overtime game. Heelan
Yes.
stopped Sioux Center at the goal line
Mhm.
and is able to go. Not only do they go to the Dome, they win their first game and then give Williamsburg a run for their money in the first half. Some things fall apart. They get some players injured and aren't able to compete with the Williamsburg team that ends up hoisting the trophy at the end of the year.
Mhm.
Um, this is gonna have the kinda same cinematics, like, this is gonna be the game, and this is our game of the week.
Mhm.
Played at Olson, it's gonna be packed. Sioux Center's gonna bring all their fans down. They wanna avenge their loss earlier in the season. Ezra Hibna has had a great year. We talked about Noah Conley's growth from
Yeah.
North into his junior year at Heelan, now to his senior year, and I'm gonna go and talk to about a guy that we've mentioned on the podcast before, but, I've seen play in person in 2 games and just watching his film, and I understand that when you have film on someone and you look at the height mismatch, you're like, "I can trust my 6'3" receiver to go up there." But stop, for the love of God, stop testing Grant Wickham.
Yeah.
Stop. He's got, like,
Right.
7 interceptions on the year. Just, like,
Yeah.
stop throwing his way. And I understand that you're like, "I can't not throw his way because we have Lester on the other side and we have, Prince on the other side. I have to throw it his way." It's like, well, do something to where it's not a jump ball for him because he's
Yeah.
going to win that jump ball. I don't care if you got the height advantage, he's going to win that jump ball battle.
Mhm.
And I joked with him and was like, You're Grant Island. Like, this is like Revis Island. It's Grant Island. Like, people
Yeah.
should not throw your way and they keep doing it.
Yeah.
Why do they keep testing you? And I'm sure he's fine with it. He's like, I'm going to keep adding to
Yeah.
my stats. Like, I don't care. Throw my way
Mhm.
if you want. I think Ezra Hibna is a good enough quarterback to learn from those mistakes. I think they're going to run the ball hard. It's going to be a game that's a trench warfare game. I like Heelan's both their running backs with Favors and Thomas. I like Harpanaugh, but on the other side you got Sam Boothie, who's basically you could switch jerseys with Cody and Zach, and you wouldn't know who the two are. So that'll be a good matchup. Just making sure that if a running back hits the second level, they get stopped,
Mhm.
and then don't turn a big or a good play into a big play. Because I think that is kind of how the momentum will go in this game. It'll go back and forth. I
Yeah.
do have Heelan winning the second matchup. I have it a lot like their matchup 2 years ago to go to the Dome. And I have Heelan winning by a field goal, 24-21. It doesn't have to be in overtime. If you want to make it a cinematic masterpiece like you did
Mhm.
with the East game, go ahead and make it an overtime game. I don't care. But I do have Heelan being the beneficiary of this one, especially playing at home. I think the crowd, Heelan
Mhm.
brings a great crowd no matter what. Like I talked about, Sioux Center is going to bring a good crowd down as well. It's just the vibes of this one just scream close game, and I think Heelan will be the more battle tested one to win the close game. You give it into Kaysen's hands late in the game to get a couple yards to get a
Mhm.
first down to bleed some clock or to
Yeah.
score on a 2-point conversion or something. I just think that the studs for Heelan are a little bit better than the studs for Sioux Center. Not
Mhm.
by a huge margin because Sioux Center's got some really good players.
Yes.
But I do think that Heelan is 3 points better than Sioux Center in this one.
I like your observation. As far as healing goes, I think it'll be a big night for their linebacking core. You got Favors out there, of course, Case and Thomas. and, my man out there in the middle helped me out.
Oh, Harpinall, yeah, yeah,
Oh, Bernard,
Harpinall.
yeah, yeah, sorry, slipped me for a second there, but, I mean, he's a great linebacker. He makes all the calls out there on defense. I just you can tell by watching film, he's just a student of the game, so I like the way that linebacker core performs, and I think, they'll be called upon this Friday night, and, I like Heelan to advance. I've got Heelan winning 24-13 in that game, Mitch.
All right. 4A awaits us, and a team that is new to 4A and I thought would not struggle, but just take their lumps.
Mhm.
And they took their lump the first game of the year and then never looked back, and that is Sergeant Bluff. They're hosting North Polk, who has 2 losses. Now, this North Polk offense, extremely balanced. They've ran it with their starting running back, Carson Reithart, 191 times. Their quarterback, James Armstrong, has thrown it 199 times. So just out of their 2 main production pieces, there's 8 plays difference from passing to
Yep.
running. So very balanced for
Very.
this North Polk offense. The only problem is you're playing Sergeant Bluff, and Sergeant Bluff is run heavy. I think the biggest thing for them is when Houston went down, Beckett Varas came in. Now I have heard some rumors that Houston might be available. I
Mm,
thought, maybe possibly had ending season ending surgery. There is a possibility that he will be back for either this game or the Dome if they make it. So that throws another, you know, cog in this offense to where you're like, okay, now who are they handing it off to? Because they
yeah,
have so many varieties. And I think the
yeah,
biggest piece for them offensively is you can't just fully dedicate yourself to the run. You can't just put 9, 10 guys in the box because they have a receiver like Gavin Warren,
yeah,
who, it's not a ton. He doesn't put up a ton of numbers. 19 catches, 305 yards, 8 touchdowns. Like, he is a
yeah,
bigger body receiver that's going to make a play for you. If the defense sucks in, you're going to find him over the top. And I think what Sergeant Bluff has done great all year is they bleed the clock on
um,
offense. They're solid on defense. They turn you over, and they don't give you as many chances to go down and score. So now North Polk, you win the toss, you elect to defer. Sergeant Bluff
uh-huh,
drives down the field, they score, and it's 7-0. You look at the clock and you're like, oh, we only have 4 minutes left in the first quarter. You get the ball and you go down and say, let's you score in the first, and you make it 7-7. Now, when Sergeant Bluff gets the ball back, you might not touch the ball until 4 minutes left in the second. Like, you're not
right,
going to get that many opportunities.
yep,
And with how North Polk wants to move the football, it's very, like I said, it's very balanced. They're going to mix in some run. They're going to mix in some pass. If you try
mhm,
to go too heavy into one side, that plays into Sergeant Bluff's favor because then they have you uneasy. And I
uh,
think if you try to match their physicality in the run game, you're not going to be able to do it because they've had teams that have tried to do that before. Blanked Fort Dodge, and then you go against teams that want to try to air it out, like a team like Lamar's. And what do? I mean, granted, the starting quarterback Sitzman got hurt, but for most of that game, they took away the passing game. Like, their defense, and we can talk about their rushing attack all we want, but their defense has been immaculate all season. Xavier Jones is the leader on the defensive side, just a junior. 9.5 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, and a pick. This team does such a good job on offense and defense I mean, minus the first game against Heelan, because I think they were trying to get used to the new group that they had, but knowing the spacing on
yeah,
offense and defense
mm,
is a key and you were at their practice
yeah,
just recently, Marty. So, like, their spacing and attention to detail is so good, and it's been something that Justin Smith has made a very key point of emphasis since the second he stepped in the door at Sergeant Bluff. And you saw that program go from, I wouldn't even say they were mediocre, there's borderline mediocrity to where they're at now.
yeah,
And they've proven that they can get to the Dome in 3A, and now they're one game away from getting to the Dome in 4A. Just been an impressive job that they've done all season long. And then you talk about kids stepping up. A lot of teams, your starting running back goes out for the season, and you're like, especially when you run
yeah,
the offense that Sergeant Bluff runs, you're like,
mhm,
oh no, what are we going to do now? Now, what happens is a junior steps up and
yeah,
looks to be the part to what they're going to have for next year. I think it's just been a blessing in disguise for Sergeant Bluff to move to the new offense that they've had the last 2 years. It might not be, in people's watching eyes, the prettiest thing. You might be like, please throw a pass.
Yeah.
But you know what? 9-1 speaks for itself, and they could very
Uh-huh.
easily, clean up a few mistakes and be 10-0 going into this game as well. But a lot of blabbering from me, from my alumni team. I don't see how North Polk comes and knocks Sergeant Bluff off their game. I like Sergeant Bluff 35-14 and another trip to the Dome for Coach Smith.
Yeah. I was there today at practice. Me and Jacob stopped by there. Look, I got there at 3:30. Practice starts at 4. And to me, it's a really mature group that was out getting warmed up and everything. I think they could have run practice by themselves. I mean, I just got a vibe of a very focused football team and knowing coming at them on Friday night. And I'm just impressed with the coaching job that Justin Smith's done, and he's got some great assistants there. And you kind of spelled it out, so I won't review what you said, but I do like Sergeant Bluff to advance. I've got them winning 27-14, and I think they got a real shot to maybe win it all, Mitch. I really do.
Yeah, it's a tough, especially in the higher classes. I think the lower classes you see it a lot. Grundy Center, West Hancock runs that type of offense to where
Yep.
they lull you to sleep. They play a really good defense, and you find it out of a lot of smaller schools just because they don't have as many weapons on the outside. But I
Yeah.
think Sergeant Bluff does a really good job of, you know, not downplaying it, but to where they do lull you to sleep. And then on the defensive side, like they make the plays and
Yeah.
they limit, big plays on offense for the run and the pass. And they make the game for the opposition almost so boring to where you're like, man, like a 7 point hole to
Yeah.
any other team is like, we can get right back in this game, but a 7 point deficit against Sergeant Bluff, and you're like, oh my God, we need to start freaking. Like, we're not going to get the ball that many more times. We have to stop them on
Yeah.
defense. Like, our defense needs
Yeah.
to play lights out. And then you start to they get in your head.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
when they're in your head, it's over. It's over. So if Sergeant Muff can go out, get a lead established, and start to get to the head of the North Polk players, and really start to afflict their will on them, defensively and offensively on the line. This could be a long night for North Polk, but I think they're balanced enough and can make it a game. But I do see Sergeant Bluff coming out victorious and making a trip back to the Dome. So
Yep.
moving on to the final, the 5A, which could have been game of the week if it was hosted at Sioux City East, but Waukee Northwest and East battled two teams 9-1. Waukee
Mm.
Northwest lost to Waukee on a last-second blocked field goal. Sioux City East tried to come from behind to beat Ankeny earlier in the season, was unable to do so, but did get some key wins down in the CML, especially that big one against Johnston. This one, Marty, I don't know how many runs are going to happen. I think both teams have really good running backs. Amos Collins, obviously is taking the back seat right now to Gretkin with
Mhm.
him being healthy. And then on Waukee's side, Woodruff, the seniors ran for 709 yards and 10 touchdowns. But we have the top two quarterbacks in passing
Yeah.
yards in 5A.
Yep.
This is going to be a Leach is in the clouds right now and just praying that this is a West Coast shootout.
Yeah.
And I think it will be. I think the passing yards are going to be just going insane. Cal has thrown for 2,274 yards and 23 touchdowns. And you're like, wow, that's a great year for Cal. And you go to the other side, and Mike Heitland has thrown for 2,635 yards and 27 touchdowns. Like,
Wow.
these guys are extremely accurate with the ball.
Mhm.
They have good receivers on the outside. Isaiah Grant on one side, Jordan Green, who's surpassed 1,000 yards receiving and 13 touchdowns. This game is going to be not on the defensive line in the trenches, which is going to be key in every game. This is going to be, all right, whose secondary is going to
Yeah.
beef up and whose secondary is going to be straps in the
Yeah.
second half, because this game's has the potential to be a extremely high scoring game. I like the secondary that I've seen out of Sioux City East. I know they're going to try to go pick on Demke just because he's younger and smaller.
Mhm.
I think if you can force them, especially force the quarterback out of the pocket to where he's not available, because you obviously don't want your quarterback to throw, cross body or back across the field. So if you're able to pressure the same side that Demke's on to where you force the quarterback out of the pocket, I think that'll be big for them as well. But it's just going to be a matchup, Marty, to where it's gonna be close going into the
Mhm,
3rd quarter. If you're East, you need to get the ball and start off with the lead. And it's gonna be who either makes a
mhm.
turnover on downs or makes a big stop defensively, or honestly, who has the football last. I really
Yeah,
think it could come down
yep,
to neither team can really get each other out of a groove, and it's gonna be legitly like, all right, it's tied up with 2 minutes left. Team A or Team B has the ball, and the other team can't stop them. So it's just going to be who, if they give them enough time after they score to make a retaliation or not. I do think that Joaquin Northwest has a little bit of the edge just because they're at home. And it is really hard for me to pick against Sioux City East because I've been kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. But I will pick against Sioux City East. I think they've had an outstanding year. I don't think that I would be, in complete shock if the score was flipped. But I do think that Joaquin Northwest is a touchdown better in this contest. I like 35-28 Joaquin Northwest. The Wolves make it to the Dome, and they were number one all season long. I think this would be a huge game for East if they were able to win it. And I think if they do win it, then all of a sudden now it's not what team what team are we facing up to play and now and scheming for. It's you've beaten Johnston at Johnston and you've beaten Joaquin Northwest at Joaquin Northwest. I don't care who's on the schedule. You can go up
yeah,
and line up against them and beat them.
mhm,
So if Sioux City East makes it to the Dome, like don't be surprised if they put on some magic, and that could be a team that a lot of the three other teams aren't really looking too high on, but
mhm.
can make some noise. But I do have Joaquin Northwest winning 35-28, and I do hope to God that I'm wrong and East pulls off the upset here.
Sure. I go back to the Johnston game. I think that really galvanized this East team, and there's nothing better than being an underdog. You know, when
You have nothing to
you're
lose,
at the
right?
poker table, man. And I like the way East has been playing. I think that game kind of just solidified their purpose and what their goals are, and everything's still in front of them. I'm gonna pull the trigger on East. I think I have great respect for both sides of the football. Their defensive line and linebackers are pretty electric for the Black Raiders. Bray Fogel's had a sensational season. You got Claiborne there, and I could see Claiborne picking off a pass again this week. He's had a hand in kind of a lot of games lately, turning the ball back over to the offense. Then you got Ullman and Pittenger up front. I mean, they got a lot of juice, and Cal
Well,
is
don't
Cal.
and
Cal's
yeah,
Cal's
don't
performed on the biggest stage, in baseball and football. He's a gamer, man. So I'm pulling the trigger with East. I like East 27 and Waukee Northwest 20.
and I think another thing, like we talk about the game that a lot of teams play and you win. There's three phases: offense, defense, and special teams.
Yeah,
And we saw it from the opening kick against Dallas Center Grimes that
yeah,
Chris Ford is a problem. That man is a problem.
yeah, he is.
And like, so you can't kick it to him, you can't punt it to him, and then if he gets a screen, he's made guys miss before. So I
Sure.
think that's another added element that helps Sioux City East in this game. To where, like, I'm telling you, Marty, I'm picking Joaquin Northwest. I'm not going against my pick,
Yeah,
but if there's a turning point in the game, it could be a Chris Ford punt return.
yeah,
That's the other thing is he puts them unless the kick is, fair caught. If he has a chance to return it, he's going to do his best to put his team into great field position or score himself.
yeah, yeah.
So, like, we talk about defenses and special teams flipping the field. Chris Ford will do that by himself and
Yeah.
then give a short yardage field to Cal to where he's able to work and they're able to do everything that they need to do. Makes your
Mhm.
defense play a little bit more juice, makes your offense play with more juice. And I'm telling you, like, it could come down to a late special teams play too. East has blocked a couple punts this year.
Yeah,
Like there's a lot of different things that can go down. I think the first team to make a big mistake. Now, I'm not saying a pick in the first quarter, but late in the third or into the fourth quarter, the first team to make a mistake is going to be the team that loses this game.
probably. One more mention for me is, Cal has a sophomore wide receiver in Isaiah Grant. He's a D1 prospect, man. He is flat good, and I hope they look to get the ball in his hands as many times as possible. Claiborne's another option in the passing game. as well as some others. I didn't wanna not mention Isaiah Grant because I think he's had a huge
Yeah,
part in their
he's
success on the offensive side of the football, and the best part about that kid, we get 2 more years to watch him. So, I'm excited for
right.
him
That's a
and his future 'cause he's a hell of a ball player.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, it should be good for years to come too, because I
Yeah,
mean, obviously, you don't want to see a lot of the seniors graduate from any school, especially Sioux City East. But they got some dogs coming up behind them too. Quarterback position, running back position. Collins is back. Like they're gonna have a good team next year as well. So should be a good one. But that'll wrap up kind of our coverage here in the Siouxland area. I hope we're talking next week, Marty, and there are more than just 3 teams or 4 teams being
yeah,
represented at the state. I if we could get a team in almost every class, that would make
mhm,
me like the happiest person ever. We get one more week to cover these kids. We get to
yeah,
see, finally that they can talk, take the talk off the, hey, well, the west side of the state never really does anything. They never really make it to
mhm,
the state tournament. Like
yeah,
now, what are you going to say? If we have a representative minus 8 man of almost every class, I mean, what
mhm,
are you going to say? Like
yeah,
those kids came to play this year, and we got some
mhm,
dudes that can play. We have some. There's loaded all the way from, class A to class 5A, to where we have some D1 kids on this side of the
yeah,
state. We can play ball too. So
right,
it'd be really interesting to see. I mean, hopefully every Siouxland team wins. Hopefully I'm wrong on a couple of my picks, and we have really good representation at the state tournament. But it's the one time where I'm okay on picking if I'm wrong, if those
yep,
teams make it. So, but best of luck to all the teams. Obviously, again,
yeah,
this podcast isn't would never happen without the support of everyone that's
yeah,
watching and listening, and then our sponsors, Jersey Mike's, Game Day Men's Health of the Dunes, and the Dons in Sioux City and South Sioux City. Well, Marty, I know we're going to talk obviously a lot over the next week and or so, and obviously when we get our preparation to go, hopefully up to Vermilion and then over to Cedar Falls as
yep,
well. I'd like to thank everyone for listening, and
yeah,
hope your team gets a nice hard fought W on Friday night, and we will see you guys happy and smiling next week, Thursday, talking about the dome and everything for it. From Marty Millard, I'm Mitch McCumber, and we will see you guys next week.
see you guys.